it's time for a check on international news. Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam held her first community dialogue this evening. It's aimed at healing rifts in society. Now, the session at Queen Elizabeth Stadium in Wan Chai lasted for almost 2.5 hours. Only 30 people were able to ask questions. While many expressed concern that the talks are just for show, Mrs. Lam insisted that the government is sincere and wants to hear people's views. She added that talks will continue. Now, outside the stadium, protesters have blocked roads, and our correspondent, Wai Kit, joins us now from just outside the venue. Wai Kit, can you tell us what's happening right now outside the stadium?
Well, Angie, people are still gathering outside here. These protesters have been here since 5 p.m. Singapore, Hong Kong time. They're quiet now, but there will be two indications for them to start chanting slogans. One is sightings of police officers, and two is the appearance of Chief Executive Mrs. Carrie Lam, who is believed to be still inside this stadium. Earlier, though, there have been participants from inside streaming out, and some of those who did speak up and who spoke passionately and close to the hearts of these protesters. When they walked past, they were recognized because we could also watch the live stream from our phones, and when these participants walked past, they got a hero's welcome. So this is what's happening outside the stadium venue. Many people here chanting slogans earlier, but by and large, these are peaceful protesters. But there have been other areas within Wan Chai where we hear reports of protesters already building barricades and throwing bricks on the roads. There have also been appearances of police with shields, and these are usually the early signs of scuffles that could break out into tonight.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that, Wai Kit. But coming back to the dialogue, we understand that it went on for a little over 2 hours. Did Mrs. Lam give any significant responses to any of the issues that were raised?
Well, Steve, based on what Mrs. Carrie Lam had previously described as a successful dialogue, based on her criteria, she would say that this dialogue held inside this Queen Elizabeth Stadium is successful because 150 people got to sit together peacefully and exchange views for 2 hours, and in this case 2.5 hours. So she says that if this can be met, she would see this as successful. Having said that, earlier you mentioned that only 30 people were selected to speak from 150 participants, so that's about just 1/5 of the people who spoke up, and almost half of them brought up the topic of police brutality, and they asked Mrs. Carrie Lam why she cannot set up a new independent body to look into allegations of police brutality. But Mrs. Lam says that the current body, called the IPCC, is able to do its job because there are now foreign experts from other countries invited to this IPCC to give their opinion. And she also appealed to the participants to, give them some time because the IPCC's work is now underway. She says that the results will be made transparent in the next couple of months, so she did ask for patience. One thing she did mention inside this stadium that may ease up some tension is that she says that the protesters who were arrested will no longer be placed at the controversial Sun Oak Lane detention center. That's a detention center near Shenzhen, and it's controversial because there have always been a lot of allegations of misconduct. So she says that protesters will not be made to stay there as a result of what people have told her.
All right, many thanks for that update. Wai Kit speaking to us from outside the Queen Elizabeth Stadium in Wan Chai, Hong Kong.